This is Chapter 7 of Judgment in Managerial Decision Making by Bazerman and Moore, The Escalation of Commitment. Going to the introduction notes at the beginning of the chapter, we have to ask ourselves as leaders this question: at what point does continuing the same course of action become irrational? We have to know when it's appropriate to quit. And it's a constant struggle between cutting losses and try again. We have to learn to discriminate between situations in which persistence will pay off and those in which it will not. The unilateral escalation paradigm states that it's not always wise to quit at the first sign of failure. We have to determine between rational versus non-rational tendencies to escalate. And this lies within the individual, through your own experiences, through your own ability to manage risk. We have a natural tendency to escalate commitment, particularly after we receive negative feedback. Oh, no, they didn't. We want to fight against that. We want to rally the forces and come against it. Well, that may not always be the wisest choice. The competitive escalation paradigm initiates off, it rather piggybacks off of what we just stated. And I'll show them is where that starts. There becomes additional competitive forces to feed the escalatory process. To be a successful decision maker, you have to learn to identify traps that encourage competitive escalation. One must know how to predict actions associated with risk. And there also has to be a healthy amount of fear, but there can't be too much fear in that you're so committed that you have too much invested to quit. Why does escalation occur? It occurs in perception biases. The more time is spent confirming than disconfirming information to prove yourself right. To prevent such action, you have to realize biases prior to the onset of the decision. You have to know when it's time to walk away. A judgmental bias includes filtering information in an attempt to be a risk adverse. And we've learned in previous chapters that if you're too averse to taking risks, then you're going to play it too safe and you won't make the gains that you're seeking. Framing concepts to the exclusion of relevant information, and that's when we lean on our own judgment too much, where no other possibility other than the ones that we formulated can come into play in these issues. Advancing to the next slide. Why does escalation occur? Impression management. We need to manage the impressions of others. We need to weigh that against something. A lot of us are people-pleasing people, and we try to do our best in not being seen as too weak or too arrogant. And so in these situations, we can try to save face. And that happens when we don't admit failure. And we need to understand that we're just human. And as humans, we make mistakes. Competitive irrationality refers to a situation in which two parties engage in an activity that is clearly irrational in terms of expected outcomes to both sides, despite the fact that it's difficult to identify specific irrational actions by either party. And if you need an example, the housing bubble is it that resulted into the economic downturn that we've all experienced. Well, that's it for Chapter 7, students, and I want to say thank you very much for sticking it out through a lot of information presented in a short period of time. I do encourage you to read the book. There are some great examples on the information that's presented, and it's presented in greater detail than I have time for here. But I want to tell you that your work has been exceptional. I've been watching it, and I encourage you to keep up with your assignments, and if you're delinquent on an assignment, send us an email. Let us know. There's nothing there's nothing we can do for you if we don't know that you're having some sort of difficulty in getting in the information. We appreciate the correspondence that we've received thus far, and we want to encourage you that when you're sending your email correspondence in the subject line, please indicate that it's for LDR430, because Dr. Davis, he is professor in a ton of different courses, and we receive a ton of different correspondence every day. But I want to let you know that you're a great group of students and you're doing fantastic. God bless you, and you have the best weekend possible. See you soon.